Hello, this is Diane Blake. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about a book that I created to contain textures, and it sort of like tells me what the ingredients were and how they can look. Now this book never got finished. As you can see, this is the book that I used. It's just an old book that I found in a thrift store called Tricks with Dollar Bills, which was kind of fun, but I wanted to use it because it had a kind of different format. I love books that have different formats. So this one is kind of long, and as you can see, I've started working on the inside here, but I've used this book just to contain different textures and ideas that I had, and like this one is created in 2013, and it shows spray, acrylic, and bubbles. So I actually blew bubbles on the paper and splattered the paper with some acrylic ink, and then I doodled over it. And if you've seen any of my other videos, you'll know that I just love to doodle on splatters. And this is one of the ones I created. And there's some shiny medium in here, just to make it look a little sparkly. This one I did spray acrylic and perfect pearls, and it feels a lot more like cloth than paper just because of the way I did it. And as you can see, lots of sparkle in there. Okay, this one's got a lot of texture. Oh, I love texture. And this one, I used molding paste, some glass bead gel. That's what all these little dots are. I don't know if you can see it. But it's got glass bead gel, spray acrylic, and perfect pearls. And I just like all of the shininess. I like all the bumps. And basically when I put the gel on, I smushed the pages together. That's why the pages look a lot alike, because they got smushed together. And I just thought, wow, if I ever need to create it, at least I know what I used. On this page, I used Winsor inks, some gesso mixed with diluted green ink, iridescent spray, lots of gesso ink. The inks bleed through a lot, and so I was just trying to see how they worked on the gesso. And those Winsor inks are quite bright until you put gesso on them, and then they become quite pastel. This one I was working with napkins, and what I did was, actually it was tissue paper from a pattern, and then I stamped over it with some pretty stamps that I had, and used some tea bags and some washi tape along the edges, and I just thought, and some sprays, because I like sprays, but there you go. You can see that a little better, I think. Okay, so this has a lot of texture on the outside, and then on the inside I kind of, well, this is fiber paste on the outside, so it's really quite bumpy. I don't know if you can see the bumps. And the texture, there you go, you can see the texture that way. And I put it all along the outside edge. There was a border on the page anyway for the design of that book, so I just covered it up with that. And then I used Inka Gold metallic rub over the paste to make it stand out better. Some almanac pages underneath, and homemade sprays, gesso, and Mod Podge, so to stick some of that paper down from the almanac pages. So that's why you'll see forecast, timetable for growing, that kind of stuff. Okay, this page I fell in love with this, because look at all of that crackle. Let me see if we can get some of that crackle to show up for you. There's a lot of texture here. There you can see the crackle now. There's crackle and paste and all kinds of good stuff. Let me see. Lots of mica was used here. Handmade paint. Using misters. Some crackle paste. Metallic rub. And blue. I really like the blues. And it has a feel of plaster. If you were to feel it, you would love it. Okay, this is made with what we call in the United States cheesecloth. I think they have another name for it, but it's very open mesh, kind of a cloth. And I stuck that over the top of some gesso and handmade sprays and matte gel. And as you can see, that border is still around here, but that's part of the original book. So that sort of gave it a nice little border, but I really like the cheesecloth. Okay, this has got tissue paper that I glued down, and so it got all kinds of wrinkles and crinkles in it, and so that gives it the texture. It's got gel matte medium, some sprays, some rub, blues and greens, copper, yellow, and more colors. So I just went berserk on the colors here. Let me see if I can. It's kind of hard to see in this light. But as you can see, it wrinkled the paper, but I don't care. It's gorgeous. Okay, this was fun. Here in Arizona, I live in a small town called Prescott, and it's been around since the 1860s, an old western town. And a lot of the old buildings in town have tin ceilings, and they're just so cool. And this reminded me of some of those old tin ceilings. And this is done with glue. I used hot glue and just made a design here with dots and stuff, and then I covered it with a green, oh, this was Elmer's glue, sorry, it wasn't even hot glue, it was Elmer's glue and acrylic paint and copper spray, and I allowed the spray to just fall into the nooks and crannies. But anyway, I just really love the copper. And okay, this technique I found online. It's made with joint compound, and I used joint compound and I layered that on, and then I made a design of flowers in it, and then I would put a layer of paint. And then I would rub off parts of it and let that dry. Then I would put another layer of paint on that was in different places, and then I would rub off different areas of that, let that dry, and kept doing that. I did that like 3 or 4 times so that it got this real plastery feel. It's really deeply etched. It's just really beautiful. And that's all I have on this book. But I love it. I leave this standing up in a little book stand so that these just sort of remind me of things I can do to make pages a little more textured. Well, that's all I have, and maybe one of these days I'll actually cover the binding, but I just love this book so much, and I always have it open instead of closed anyway, so I don't know, I just feel a need to go back and put the cover on, or cover the cover, or whatever you want to say. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. And again, if you liked it, please click the thumbs up and or subscribe. Thank you for spending your time with me.